This episode of DIYTryin is brought to you by Peak Automotive. Welcome to DIYTryin.
Keep up on your regularly scheduled maintenance.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Michael Hand.
We are gonna get greasy this week. Our buddy Matt, who's actually behind the camera right now, bought a $500 Toyota Corolla for his mom.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it's had a huge amount of maintenance on it, even though it has 100,000 miles on it. So we're gonna fix it up just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. We're gonna go sort of step by step through it. I think we'll start with fluids.
Fluids.
What are we doing first, Michael?
First, we put the car onto some ramps.
Yeah, you can actually use a jack and a pair of jack stands to hold the front end of the car up. Or if you're lucky and you can fit your coolant catch, your tank to catch the coolant underneath the car with it down on the ground, go for it. So we removed the radiator cap. Just for fun, we tested the radiator, the antifreeze and coolant that was in the radiator. This is an antifreeze tester, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna let us know if we're still protected from freezing. And so,
I thought antifreeze was supposed to be a different color than that.
antifreeze is usually green or red. So green is kind of the traditional color, sort of bright greenish yellow. And so we've got 4 balls floating here, 5 balls floating here. So this is protection here somewhere between -40 and -25 from freezing. But that color is either DexCool, which is a red color, which isn't really the right color for DexCool, or maybe there's a lot of rust in this system. So we're gonna flush the radiator and the cooling system. So at the bottom of your radiator, there is going to be some kind of a valve, a petcock, a plug. In this case, I thought we were gonna need to get to it from underneath, but it turns out you can reach it just fine from the top of the radiator.
While that was draining, we checked out the hoses.
When you're taking a look at this, so this is your radiator. Don't open that unless it's cool. Squeeze the hoses, right? If there's a lot of cracks in the hoses, if there's a lot of bulging out here, or like this, right? You can see this is probably the original hose inside of there. But you see all that cruff down there, that gook? And that's actually, looks like it's trashing the fibers at the center of our rubber hose here. So we were going to replace this. So we picked up a replacement hose from the local auto parts store, pulled the old hose off, and then Michael drew back in disgust.
It's not something you would expect to be in a car.
Yeah, well, at this point, right, basically it looked like coolant was leaking under the hose that was decomposing. We put a rag in that hose and ran it over with a Scotch-Brite pad to remove the worst of the cruft. Once it was all down to bare metal, we wiped it one last time, threw the hose on, and everything was copacetic at that point.
Yeah, so now we're ready to do the actual flushing.
All right, let's flush. You need a hose, you need something to catch the fluid, and you need time. Drain the horrible brown fluid. Hopefully you will have beautiful, crisp, green antifreeze. The water is still coming out a little brown, which made me think we had some rust issues somewhere in here. So we got super cleaner and flush, dumped that in, filled it up with water, ran that for 10 minutes. And that seemed to actually get the worst of it out, and the water actually started to look like water and not mud.
Yeah, so now we're ready for the actual coolant to add it back in.
Roll it down off the ramps, drain the last of that water into your container, because we couldn't get all the water out of the engine block until we got it back level again. Plug the radiator and fill it. We're using Peak antifreeze and coolant long life. I like using the 50-50 premix so I don't have to run around and find distilled water and calculate the blend. We should mention Peak's radiator guarantee. With the long life antifreeze and coolant we're using here, you get 150,000 miles or 5 years of coverage.
Or you can go with the global lifetime antifreeze and coolant and you get lifetime protection as long as you own your vehicle.
How cool is that?
Pretty cool. You can check out more info at peakguarantee.com.
Peak's radiator guarantee, protect your cooling system, guaranteed. Did we overfill?
Just a little bit.
All right, so we'll make sure we clean that up so we don't kill the cat. And fire it up, and we're gonna let the air work its way out of the system. So leave the radiator cap off once you've topped off the radiator. Fire up the engine, turn the heat up to broil a chicken, and let it run for a few minutes. All right, looks like it's burping its way out. I'm gonna take this for a quick cruise. I will be right back, and we will top off the last of our antifreeze. You can be Goose and I'll be Maverick, or you want to be Maverick and I'll be Goose.
I only somewhat get that reference.
You are so young.
Sorry.
I'm so old. You never seen Top Gun? So we ran it around, opened it up, a bunch of air had come out of the system and it bled itself basically. We topped it off and we just did our second tour the neighborhood and we're good. That is topped off. Color's nice. I like that a lot better than the crud that was in there before.
Now on to oil.
So we're back underneath the car, which is up on ramps. Probably don't need ramps to change the oil, but it makes it a little easier to reach this, which is the drain plug on the oil pan. It also makes it a lot easier for Matt to get the camera under the car. So position your oil catch underneath there. Watch out because it could be hot and it will come out faster than you think it will once that plug is out of place. And while that's draining, we're gonna go back up top side and figure out how to get the oil filter off the engine block. The oil filter is conveniently positioned underneath this, which is the exhaust manifold.
Which is really hot.
Yes, as a matter of fact it is, which is why I have my gloves back on and I'm gonna pull my sleeves down.
Yep, that's sizzling.
I got to a certain age and I really didn't like second-degree burns anymore. So this is a strap wrench. So you'd either use it with a 1/2-inch socket, a screwdriver, or an adjustable wrench, or a pair of vice grips. The oil filter on this car is so twee, I couldn't actually find one of the cool end cap. They basically have sockets that fit on the end of oil filters now. So the way this works is as you tighten it up, the strap wraps around the oil filter, and then you just keep turning it. It just tightens itself up. It's about as simple gets. But I like the ones that fit over the ends a little bit more because you just pop them on the end and turn them. Once it's basically past a quarter turn, it should be loose enough to turn with your fingers, and make sure you've left your drain pan underneath in case any oil falls out of the oil filter.
Once you've got that off, it's time to get the replacement oil filter ready to go.
You want to be very careful not to get any stuff inside your oil filter. Basically screw it finger tight, and then you're going to want another 3/4 of a turn. A good way to gauge this is by putting a mark on the oil filter before you spin it. I'm going to eyeball this because it's a black filter and all we have are black pens.
Once you have the oil filter back on, make sure to tighten up the drain plug in the oil pan.
Yeah. If there's a torque value in the manual, do it, but check it twice.
But once that's on, you can add your new oil back. Our car required 3 quarts of oil.
Yeah, your manual basically tell you what kind of oil for the temperature area you're in and how much oil. In this case, it was 3 quarts of 10W30.
Hey look, more peak.
Made in America. This is like, I think, your first automotive mechanical experience. How you feeling about it?
It wasn't too bad, actually. Changing the coolant did take a little bit of time because you had to do the whole flushing process, but that was easy. And then changing the oil was really easy.
I think it took us 10 minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes, something like that.
5 minutes of that was figuring out how to get the filter out from underneath the exhaust manifold without lighting myself on fire.
So I definitely recommend doing car maintenance, me saying that because I don't have a car.
Get in the car.
But we do have more car stuff coming up on this channel, so let us know what you think. DIYTryin at revision3.com or comment down below.
Should we take Michael to Bonneville? Let's get Michael a beater. Let's take him to Bonneville. Let's get him doing 135 for the first time in his life. DIYTryin.com or youtube.com/DIYTryin. Please subscribe. Join us along for the ride at DIYTryin or DIYTryin at revision3.com.
Thanks for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Michael Ann.
We'll see you next week on DIYTryin. Don't forget, make sure you dispose of your oil properly. Get it to someplace that collects it and recycles it. Make sure it doesn't go into your driveway or down into the dirt. Nothing worse than drinking oil in the water. Come on, we're gonna make you famous. Don't you want a television show? Shop Cat. I know the dudes from Animalist.